Well, not long ago I received a phone call from my sister-in-law, a fundamentalist Christian, conservative on social issues but not particularly political otherwise. She made a surprising request. Her pastor had recently taken to railing against socialism. But she knows that I'm a socialist and not a terrible person, so something didn't seem right. Could you explain to me, she asked, what socialism is? Don't refer to me a book, she added. Just write a few pages. So I took up the challenge. I didn't attempt an academic treatise. I gave her, in essence, a brief account of my own version of socialism, which includes some institutional specifics, since the question, what is your alternative, has been the central focus of my research and writing for almost 40 years. Here's my multi-part answer to her question. I start with the negative. Now, most people here don't need to be reminded, you know these negative, what socialism is not, but I think it's useful when we're not talking to the choir to sort of address this question. So let me just do this real quickly. Socialism is not anti-religious. The fundamental values of socialism are in no way incompatible with the basic moral principles of Christianity or any other major religion. That the most influential of the early socialists, Karl Marx, was an atheist is an historical accident. Marx, as a college student, fell in with some German atheists, the young Hegelians. But you should remember that Marx broke with the young Hegelians, not over the question of religion, but because he did not think, their analysis, that it was fundamentally religious superstition that was the cause of Germany's problems. For Marx, it wasn't that, it was the underlying economic structure. Socialism is not opposed to freedom and individuality. Remember the closing lines of the Communist Manifesto, urging a society in which the free development of each is a condition for the free development of all. Socialism is not anti-democratic. Again, the Communist Manifesto, Marx and Engels urge workers to win the battle of democracy. Socialism oops, I have one left out here, but anyway, this one's important. Socialism is not opposed to inequalities based on genuine differences of productive contribution. Marx called the leveling down of everyone to a common level crude communism, a form inferior to capitalism. Democratic socialists recognize the need for economic incentives to encourage people to develop their talents and to employ them productively. What we don't want are the massive inequalities that keep compounding, since under capitalism you can put your money to work, so that the more you have, the more your fortune grows. Socialism is not the wholesale replacement of competition with cooperation. Socialism wants a balanced mix of the two. Certain forms of competition are healthy. We want enterprises to compete to see who can use their materials most efficiently, who can innovate most productively, who best responds to what consumers need and want. Other forms of competition are not healthy. Status competition based on consumption levels, and above all, competition among workers to see who will work for the lowest wage. Okay, the core values of socialism, I think we ought to put those out on the table also, and I think one of the first ones is meaningful work. It's been from the beginning a fundamental tenet of socialism that work is essential to human dignity. Not to be able to find work is devastating to one's self-respect. Society is in essence saying to you, there's nothing you have to offer that we need or want. We may deign to keep you alive, but basically you're a parasite, consuming off the labor of others. I mean, it's no wonder that unemployment creates, social pathologies. Intergenerational solidarity. Socialists recognize the social nature of human beings and our profound dependence on one another. No one is truly independent. All of us were once children. Most of us will get sick. Most of us will need to be cared for by those younger than we are, just as we have cared for those younger than us. Since none of us chooses his or her parents, or chooses to get sick, or chooses to grow old, socialism asked us to assume collective responsibility for each other. Socialism asks that we in some way regard all the children of our society as our children, all the sick as our relatives, all the elderly as our parents. Of course, we have special obligations and feelings for our intimate relations, but we have a larger collective obligations as well, which can be met by assuring quality prenatal care, child care, education, health care, and pensions for all members of society and ultimately for everyone in the world. Participatory autonomy. People have the right to participate in the decisions that affect them. This is the core principle of democracy, and yet, under capitalism, it does not extend to the economy. In particular, it does not extend to the workplace, where employers exercise near complete authority, nor does it extend to our society's investment priorities, even though such decisions, where to invest or not to invest, in what to invest or not to invest, will affect the long-term structure of our economy and our lives. Socialism aims at overcoming these democratic deficits. And finally, ecological sustainability. We need an economy that will work in harmony with our increasingly fragile natural world. We need to regard ourselves as stewards of nature, not masters. Okay, does there exist a form of socialism that would preserve the strengths of competitive capitalism while at the same time eliminating or at least mitigating its worst features, among them systematic unemployment and environmental degradation? The answer is yes, if we extend democracy to the economy itself. Consider the structure of the free market capitalism. It consists essentially of three sets of institutions: competitive markets for goods and services, wage labor. Most people have to find someone that owns means of production so you can go to work, and once hired, you have to do what you're told. And private allocation of investment funds via private financial institutions that raise money from those who have excess and allocate it to businesses promising the highest profitability. Well, let's imagine a form of socialism, which we will call economic democracy, that keeps the first set of institutions, competitive markets for goods and services, but A, replaces most wage labor by cooperative labor, and B, replaces those out-of-control financial markets with democratic allocation of investment. Let us add C, the government as employer of last resort, and D, public provision of basic education, health care, and pensions. Thus, our new economy would be a competitive market economy with democratic workplaces, transparent public banks answerable to their communities that allocate investment funds in accordance with long-term development needs, full employment, and basic human needs guaranteed. Such a socialism would be economically viable and would not suffer the massive evils of capitalism.